vegetable onion production discussion. Today we are going to discuss on onions, and I'm presenting with Dr. Lenmo Mwajingeni, who is our vegetable breeder, and my name is Beauty Kupakwashe Magia. On our housekeeping issues, this presentation will run for 45 minutes and it is being recorded for internal use only. A PowerPoint presentation will be beamed on the screen during the course of the presentation and will be shared by email. Please make use of our question and answer section to type all questions, and answers will be provided promptly as mics will be muted. The video will be shared on YouTube. Our discussion will cover the following topics: our gross margin, production requirements, onion variety selection, sowing and planting, fertilizer and irrigation requirements, common diseases and pests, as well as our harvesting and storage. When it comes to all farmers, before you decide which crop to grow, it is important to learn if that crop will give you a good return on investment as well as a quick return on investment. And with onions, they have proved that they can give a farmer a quick return on investment. Also, looking at our country of Zimbabwe, as well as beyond our borders, onions have got a guaranteed market, both for our green market as well as our dry onion. And for the local market, we are looking at our open markets, such as Musika, Mbare Musika, the Chikwana Musika, as well as our supermarkets, our hotels, and companies which are into buying of horticultural products. And we realize that the red onion have dominated our export market. Onions generally, they are very adaptable to our local conditions in Zimbabwe. And as SEEDCO, our hybrid onions are easy to manage due to the high disease resistance and adaptability. Looking at our onion gross margin, we are looking at a yield of 90 tons per hectare. For you to achieve this yield of 90 tons per hectare, we are looking at having a plant population of 600,000 plants and achieving an average bulb size of 150 grams. And with hybrid onions, we are looking at an average paycout percentage of 90%, and the farmer will have a net sellable yield of 80 tons. Let's assume our farm gate price is at 50 cents. It means a farmer will get an income of 40,500. Our variable cost for producing a hectare of hybrid onions will be around 9,985, giving a farmer a gross profit of 30,515. And for every dollar invested, the farmer will get $4. I'll hand you over to Dr. Lenmo for production requirements and site selection.
Thank you, Beauty, and welcome, farmers. Onions are crops that require cool temperatures for vegetative development, and you'll find that at this early stage, the cool temperatures will actually help your onions to initiate bulbing. Then once the onions have initiated their bulbs, you will require warmer temperatures in the ranges of 25 to 27 degrees Celsius, which stimulates bulb growth and bulb expansion. Towards your maturity of the crop and during the development of the bulb, we don't normally require the cold spells, as these often trigger bolting. What we call bolting is when the seed stalk develops on your onions. And this seed stalk, normally it affects the yields by reducing the yields, and as well, it thickens the neck, so your drying, hence your storage will be affected adversely. As a requirement towards maturity of your crop, we don't really need wet spells. It should be dry that have got an impact on your harvesting and your maturity, as well as it goes as far as to your storage capacity as well. That is your storage quality. Seedco onions are short day onions, so they are really suitable to the environmental and day length conditions that we have in the country, which is up to the 12 hours of daylight. Coming on the soil requirements, our onions, they perform quite well across a wide range of soils, which stretch from the sand loams to the clay loams. For those who use heavy soils, you really have to take care of the soil to avoid soil capping, and as well, you have to take extra caution when harvesting to avoid damaging the bulbs. Soil pH is one critical component that farmers have to bear in mind when planning their cropping season. You have to send your soils for soil tests or soil analysis in accredited laboratories. Then when you get the results, they will come with the recommendations whether you need to lower or to raise your soil pH so that your crop will grow and utilize the nutrients optimally. Good soil drainage is required, and this points to a good land preparation. On land preparation, again, you should bear in mind that if you are plowing the field, the depth should be above 30 centimeters. Why? Because your roots can actually also stretch to slightly beyond the 30 centimeter depth. So that is very critical. We have to really take care of the soil preparation, preparing the fine tilled and managing the crop as we grow. So coming on now to the production calendar of our onions, you will realize that sowing of the onions actually starts as early as mid-January and it ends at the end of May. So we still have time to really do our onion sowings. Then following the same window, if we are to develop our seedlings for 6 to 8 weeks before transplanting, we will be starting to transplant our onions at the end of February. And for those ones that are sown lately, they will be transplanted around mid-July. Then our harvesting will come in mid-June, then ends by the end of October. It is critical to note that these planting windows also slightly vary according to production area. So in the event that you want to sow earlier than the time that is indicated in the calendar shown here, you have to consult your Seedco agronomist, or else you want to sow a bit later than the window that is provided on this desk. We rest assure you that Seedco offers varieties that suits across the sowing windows that are provided here. So Ms. Beauty Magia will take you through our onion variety selection.
Thank you, Doc. It is quite important for farmers to note from this presentation, we still have got a window to plant our onions. So let's all hurry to Seedco and buy our varieties. When it comes to variety selection, what is the questions that farmers have to ask themselves before they go to buy the varieties? Number one, as a farmer, you ask yourself, who is my target market and what does my market require? Yes, markets have got different requirements ranging from the shape of the bulb, the color, be it white or red, the size of the bulb. It can range from 120 grams to 150 grams, as well as the bigger bulbs can go as up to about 250 grams. Flavor and storage needs is also important. And when we talk of storage needs, farmers, with our onions, you can start harvesting, be it June, July, August, but you require to sell your onions in December. So it is very important to buy hybrids which have got a good storage facility. Looking at resistance and tolerance levels, farmers, this is very important because if a variety has got resistance to diseases, it is going to cut on the cost of production. When it comes to spraying of your different diseases, you would find that hybrids which have got a good disease resistance will give you less spraying when it comes to the field. And as for bolting and splitting, when I presented on the gross margin, I talked about the average pack out, which I said with hybrids, it comes to 90%. But if you buy a variety which does not have tolerance to bolting and splitting, it means your average packing out will decrease. And sometimes with the open pollinated varieties, it can go as low as 50%. And it means at the end of the day, your quality and the number of kgs that you take to the market will be minimized, hence losing on your gross profit. Also, you have to consider the time of planting. As you can see from the presentation that Dr. Lenmore gave us, with seed-core, there is quite a wide range of the planting window. And this can help a farmer to stagger the maturity, which means you ease the pressure when it comes to harvesting of your products. With seed-core varieties, we have got a good bolting tolerance and we produce quite a good bulb which is required by the market, both local and export, and also a good tolerance to our down mildew and pink rot, which are the most common diseases in onions. Seed-core onion varieties have quite a wide range. When it comes to our white onion, talking of hybrids, we have got 5 varieties on offer to our farmers. As I alluded earlier on, yes, maturity is number one factor. Storage is another factor. Color of your bulb is another factor. Looking at the screen, we have got our Ada F1. This is the earliest that we have on our variety, maturing within 90 days. That is, you can now sell your onion as a fresh onion before you dry it. When it comes to Elad, its storage, you've got a wide storage of up to 6 months. And it's important to those farmers who would want to sell their onion once it's now scarce. And also the planting window of Elad stretches into June. So farmers, why should we wait? Make a decision and plant your onions. Neptune is a red onion that we have in offer, also with a good storage of up to 6 months, maturing between 90 to 110 days. This onion is good for those farmers who would want to supply the niche market. The niche markets in Zimbabwe are paying very well on the red onions. I'll hand you over to Dr. Lenmore for the next presentation.
Thank you, Madam. We basically have 4 methods of sowing our onions, and here I will present the 3 ones that we use in the country. The first one that I will allude to, which is a bit cheaper as well for the farmers, is the seedbed method. Once you buy your seed-core onion seed, you can go and prepare what we call a field seedbed, where you can actually put your seeds in rows, which are 15 to 20 centimeters, and the depth is actually critical, which is 10 millimeters to 12 millimeters, and should not be deeper than that, since our seeds that we are dealing with are quite small and they will struggle to germinate if you put them deeper. Then if you are doing a seed bed, we are looking at a seed rate of about 10 grains per square meter, which translates to about 3 to 5 kgs per 400 square meters that are required to transplant into a hectare. So on transplanting, after about 6 to 8 weeks, that is from sowing, you actually have to really look at if the seedling is already ready for transplanting. That is, it should be attaining some height of about 10 to 15 centimeters and should be roughly pencil thick. And management is critical for your seedling in this stage. That is, you should manage your weeds in the seed bed. You should manage your fertilizer application so that your seedlings will be will establish well. Also, before transplanting, you have to make sure that you harden well your seedlings by providing some times where you deprive a bit of water so that they become a bit hardened. Following that method, for those farmers who do small scales, you can actually buy your seed, then you can send to reputable nurseries that your seed co agronomists and your seed co personnel can actually recommend you to. Once you send your seedlings there, they will establish the seedlings in seedling trays where they put about 4 or 5 seedlings per cell, what we call a plug. Then when the farmer receives the seedlings from the nursery, it will be in trays. Then you can actually pull the plug. Then after pulling the plug, you have to separate the seedlings at sowing so that at least you manage to attain the population that is required per unit area of your onion field. The last the last sowing method that I will talk of is the direct seeding. This one, when you use it, you have to plan for a bit more on the seedling side, which is about 6 to 8 kgs. Why? Because there are a lot of losses that occur with this one. And we will advise for those who use planters, use precision planters that are well calibrated to ensure that you achieve the required number of seedlings per hectare. What is critical as well on direct seeding is your field hygiene in terms of the weeds. Why you need to keep your fields weed free, either through use of herbicides and as well with the addition of some manual aspects of the weed management, because your onion is not a very good competitor when it comes to weeds. So you really need to up your game in terms of weed control. You also have to up your game in terms of the application of irrigation so that at least you achieve or you attain the maximum germination from your planting. So you apply small amounts of irrigation more oftenly and evenly, but you have to avoid excessive application of water. Why? Because we don't want your seedlings to rot, and as well, we don't want the seedling to develop damping off, which is a disease associated with too much water at seedling stage. So management basically will be really critical on the seedling, and people have to take note of that. So I will briefly hand you over to Beauty for the spacing and the populations that we need on our onion production.
Thank you, Dr. Lemo. It is also important for farmers to note that embracing technology is important once you are looking at planting your onions above 2 hectares. So we now have onion planters which farmers can embrace, but number one aspect is you should make sure that you have got a reliable water source for you to be able to water your onions. As well as the backyard farmers, we don't forget you during these times. Why not visit your nearest nursery? You ask for your Ada, your Elad, your Neptune. It can be 100 plants, it can be 200 plants. Why should you go to the market to buy onions? Why at least you've got a small garden behind your home? So everyone is important and everyone can plant onions. When it comes to our spacing or our plant population, the recommended plant population for our onion ranges from 600,000 to 800,000 plants per hectare. But we have got farmers, as I said earlier on, that your market determines the bulb size. For the farmers who would require a bigger bulb, you're looking at even reducing your plant population to about 500,000 plants per hectare. And if you require a smaller bulb, you can go up as 1 million plants per hectare. The recommended in-row spacing is between 50 to 20 centimeters. And your in-row, that is from one plant to the other, is 8 to 10 centimeters. And also, farmers, note that your yield is also determined by the plant population that you pick. And also, your yield can average from 80 to 120 tons per hectare. So when it comes to the correct spacing, on my left, we have got a picture which is showing a variety which have been planted at the correct spacing. The spacing which was used below was a 20 centimeter interrow and a 10 centimeter in-row. This have given the onion the chance to grow to its desirable bulb size, as well as also space to develop fully. To my right, there is a picture where the plants have been grown close to each other. As you can see, the plants are now pushing each other away, and also to the left, the bulb has deformed. It's no longer round in shape as it was bred before. So you realize that as farmers, even if we are to increase our plant population, we recommend that we don't drop our in-row spacing below 8 centimeters, as well as our inter-row spacing, we don't drop it below 10 centimeters. So we would say, in the worst case scenario, you want to achieve your highest plant population, you can go for 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, because farmers, we really need to sell quality varieties on the market. I will hand you over to Dr. Lenmo for the next presentation.
So indeed, our plant population is really critical, as indicated by Madam Beauty. So we also go to one important aspect, which is our fertilizer application in the onions. And for this one, as a rule of thumb, we recommend farmers to really send their soils for soil analysis in accredited soil testing laboratories. This allows them to apply the recommended or the rightful amount of fertilizers when they bring in their fertilizer application, to avoid over application, that is excessiveness of nutrients through blanket recommendation, or else under application. But as a general guideline, we recommend that you apply basal dressing, say in the form of compound C, at a rate of 1,000 to 1,300 kgs per hectare. Then you come in with your top dressing. This can be in the form of calcium nitrate or ammonium nitrate applied at 300 kgs per hectare. And this normally starts at 3-week stage, but you have to take note that your seedlings have well established, so that you don't really have to stress your seedlings more. So they have to be well established, well watered. Then you bring your top dressing, your first top dressing, and this should be brought in splits every 2 weeks until the 7th or 8th leaf stage. From there, you apply micronutrients, which are often applied through sprays. And these micronutrients are critical for optimum functioning of your crop, as well as the development of your bulb. And they've got a strong bearing to your bulb keeping quality. So that should be applied as recommended on the labels of the different micronutrient sprays that you use. What is key to note is excessive nitrogen application during bulbing should be avoided. Why? Because if you apply excessive nitrogen, it prolongs vegetative growth, which is the development of a lot of leaves at the expense of the bulb development. Also, if nitrogen is excessive, your crop develops what we call bull necks. Those are the thick necks that are very difficult to dry, and that will affect your drying of the onions, which will also eventually affect your storage. Moving on, we also have the irrigation requirements, where we are supposed to irrigate our soils, keeping them moist, particularly just after sowing, and as well just after transplanting. In fact, after transplanting, you have to apply short irrigation cycles 2 to 3 times a day until your transplants stand. Because when we transplant, your seedlings will be laying on the ground. We don't have to overstress them again because they will be going through transplanting shock. So they have to get enough amount of water so that they really establish well. On irrigation, again, it is important to note that we don't need to apply a lot of irrigation at the final 3 weeks before maturity. Why? Because we don't want any diseases to accumulate on the bulbs. 2, we want the leaves to start translocating the growth inhibitor into the bulb so that at least they don't keep on developing during the storage. That is really critical. And we need the rooting space to be dry and as well to prepare for our easy harvesting when we come to harvesting. So that's critical. This also points back to our planting window. You will see that our harvesting is during dry season where we don't really expect water because we don't need water at this point. Generally, our onions require 600 millimeters to 700 millimeters of irrigation. More importantly, as a farmer, you have to get in your field more regularly, checking for insect pests. That is what we call scouting. Then when you see the insects, you will have to come in with the appropriate insecticides. And when you see diseases, you bring in your fungicides and your bactericides, and these are available in your chemical stores. So here, what we have done, we just brought a few of the diseases that we have to expect and we have to inspect in our fields when we do our onion production. We have what we call damping off that normally affects our seedlings, and it's attributed mostly to excessive water application at this stage that should be managed by the chemicals once we see them. We also have purple blotch and alternaria. Then we have bacterial soft rot that also affects our bulb. The leaf blights, they affect our leaves, which are the machinery or the photosynthetic system that feeds the crop as well as the bulbs. We have down mildew also affecting the leaves, Fusarium basal rots. So for all the ones that are written fungal, we will have to really hunt for your fungicide, the appropriate fungicides to apply. Then we have necros. These diseases such as necros can actually spread into the bulbs and can affect your bulbs during storage as well. Coming on to the pests, we have pests like the onion leaf miner and the thrips. These affect our foliage, that is the leaves, and the wireworms and cutworms. They damage our young plants, affecting and thereby affecting our plant stand at this stage. So it is really critical to have our diseases controlled at the right time with the proper scouting, and you can always consult our agronomist where you have doubt. Coming on to weed control, as I indicated earlier on, that where you need to do direct sowing, you actually do not need weeds, since our onion is not competitive because of the nature of its leaves on weeds. So you have to bring in your pre-emergency herbicides if you can afford, or at least make sure that you manually clean your field. And this should be done throughout the production window of your onions. But when you are hoeing or using the hoe to remove your weeds, you have to make sure that on bulbing, you don't hoe closer to the bulbs to avoid the damages. So for now, I will hand over to Madam Beauty for the maturity of our onion.
Thank you, Dr. Lenmore. When it comes to maturity, as a farmer, this is whereby you are now seeing your dollars. This is now money which is coming into your pocket. But as I said, onions, you can sell them as green, which is our fresh onion, or as a dried onion. So when it comes to the green onion, we are saying when you are growing your onion grows in the field and it will be erect. What are the points that you have to consider to say, I can harvest my green onion? Number one, you are looking at your bulb, the size of the bulb, as well as your bulb, have it started to form the khaki layer around it to show that it has stopped its growth. So at this stage, we expect our farmers to start harvesting for the green onions, which they will sell to the different markets as a bunch. When it comes to a mature crop, we are saying, as your crop was maturing as erect as this one, you will come to the stage where your plant, your neck will fall, whereby the leaves will start falling to the ground. And this is what we call a fall neck in the field. And once your field shows 75% of your onions have fallen on the neck, it means your onions are now ready for harvesting. In harvesting, farmers, you have to look at your crop. And when you look at your crop, 75%, and some farmers can go up to 80% neck fall. You bring in your blade, which you pull below the root zone. Our root zone, it can extend to 20 centimeters. So you bring in your blade and pull it under the root zone in order for you to encourage loosening of the cell. You leave your onions for the next 3 to 4 days so that it dries down before pulling. This makes pulling easy for onions to avoid damages. After pulling your crop, you are now placing your onion in windrows, and your leaves should be coming and covering the bulb so that you discourage sunburn. And in so doing, every 3 to 4 days, we encourage farmers to be going around the field to see if your onions are drying very well. Dr. Lenmo will take us through the storage.
Thank you, Beauty. So yeah, after harvesting our onions and we dry them on the windrows, and when the onions are actually dry and ready for our storage, we have to make sure that the roots are removed and the top part of the leaves is also removed about 5 centimeters away from the bulb, because if it is too wet, we don't really need entry of pathogens closer to the bulbs. So coming to our storage, before you bring in your crop, you have to also tighten up your storage facility. In that case, you have to make sure that you disinfect the facility in case there are diseases that are there, that are the pathogens, or else there are some insect pests that are there, possibly from the previous crop or whatever. As well, there could be some physical items that can actually damage your bulbs, predisposing them to fungal diseases and other pathogens that can enter. Plus, as well, if it's damaged, it won't be sellable. Then on the temperature conditions that we really need in our storage, it should be around 27 degrees Celsius. And this temperature should not be lowered. Why? Because if you put low temperatures, it will actually break the domains that is imposed by the inhibitors within the bulbs. So you will see your bulbs starting to sprout. So you should maintain your temperatures around the 27 degrees Celsius. And that temperature should not be raised way above that as well, since this can also trigger the rotting of your bulbs, especially if temperatures and humidity is too high. Coming on to your humidity is one very critical aspect, where your humidity should be kept high at around 70%, but you should also avoid too high humidity of the 80s going up. Why? Because this will promote root growth in storage, which we don't want. It also promotes, when it's too high, it also promotes pathogen development. Also tied to the humidity, your humidity should not also fall too low, like in the ranges of the schist going down. Why? Because it will cause moisture loss on the bulbs. and the bulbs will start shriveling, losing your weight, which is your profit. Ensure good ventilation, air circulation. It actually helps to prevent accumulation of fungal pathogens and fungal diseases. And the shade actually prevents your bulbs from direct sun and rains. So we need to maintain these conditions to ensure that your bulbs will store for quite some time. More importantly, before you put your bulbs in the storage, you have to grade them. You can grade them according to size at this point, but what is most important is to remove the diseased bulbs, because once you put a diseased bulb, the disease can actually spread to other bulbs, affecting the whole consignment of your profits. So in the storage now, you have to check regularly for basal rods, for neck rods, and for soft rods, which can actually spread within your storage facilities. So once you see a bulb that is affected, you actually can remove that one to make sure that it doesn't spread the disease to the next bulb. So I will hand you over to Madam Beauty for our take-home message.
Thank you, Doc. During this discussion, farmers were discussing about onions, but at the end of the day, what is it that we have learned, or what is it that would say, after we have discussed everything, we should always remember this? As Sitco Vegetables, we offer a wide range of onion varieties, giving farmers the chance to choose from a wide range. Also, you can even stagger your varieties. For example, I will come back to Ada. It matures within 90 days. Its storage is 3 to 5 months, whereas Elad matures 110 days and its storage stretches up to 6 months. As a farmer, I can stagger my crop. I plant 2 hectares of Ada and 2 hectares of Elad, meaning I will harvest my Ada first and I will harvest my Elad later. Thereby, I'm not squeezing myself when it comes to harvesting labor, as well as when it comes to storage. I can sell my Ada first to the market, then later on, I would come and sell my Elad. Especially now farmers, talking of onions, they are fetching quite a high price on the market. A pocket of onions, 15 kgs, they are ranging from 14 to 18 US dollars per 15 kgs, meaning if you had planted your Ada and you harvested it in October, by now you will be able to sell your onions and fetch high margins. Also, it is important to note it's never too late. You can still sow or plant your onions this time of the year. And when you are talking of such varieties, your Elad is one variety that you can buy now and plant from our different distributors across the country. On the screen, there are contact details of the different agronomists in your respective provinces who you can contact for further information, details, assistance, as we offer agronomic advice to all our farmers. We thank you, farmers, for joining us in this discussion. But before we close, there are a couple of questions which have been coming online, and some of them are being repeated. So we have just picked a few questions that we feel we should cover before we log out. The first question that we received was, as Sitco Vegetables, are you able to offer farmers market linkages? The answer is yes. We can link you to the off-takers of your onions. But what we encourage farmers is you have to contact your agronomist in your respective areas, and they help you with agronomic advice in managing the crop, as most off-takers that we have consider quality. So as Sitco, we are linking all farmers to off-takers on all crops that we have in our bread basket. The second question that we got was, can we grow onions organically? Yes, you can grow your onions organically, and you can be using different organic fertilizers, be it, and also organic pest control methods. So we encourage farmers to at least buy 2 or 3 varieties so that you can try them under the different management so that you'd find which one is most acceptable to the management that you are taking. And for these presentations and trials that we have done, we have been using fertilizers and chemicals. The next question was, which variety would you recommend for now? For now, we encourage farmers to visit our different distributors as well as our SEEDCO head office at Stapleford, number 1 Shamari Road, to come and buy our varieties. The varieties that we have, which are stretching into end of May, are Elad, Dinah, and Saturn, as well as our Neptune, which is our red onion. The last question that I have is, once I have stored my onion and they've started to, let me read again. Once I have stored my onions and my ventilation is not good enough, what can I do? To that would say, as a farmer, you should be able to prepare in advance. And we encourage farmers to make use of our agronomy team. They can help you from sowing up to storage. They can come and assist on the most suitable storage conditions. So for now, I'll hand you over to Dr. Lenmo to answer some of the questions that he has on his desk.
Thank you, Beauty. I will address 3 questions that I have here. The first one is saying, what are the pros and cons of direct seeding versus transplanting? Of course, as we have indicated earlier on, that when you do your direct planting, you don't incur extra costs of developing the seedlings. That is an advantage that you will be having with the direct seeding. So you don't have those costs coming onto you. Then you will find that if you do your direct planting, if you manage it well, you will have earlier, you can actually have up to 6 weeks earlier bulbs than the ones that are transplanted. Why? Because we don't undergo what we call transplanting shock, which can actually delay. It's more of a bit stressful, so it delays your seedlings a bit as is compared to the direct seeded. But when we come to the direct seeded again, we will see that the disease and the weed pressure will be too high, as we indicated that our onion is a weak competitor when it comes to the weed suppression. So you don't really encounter much of that in seedlings when you do seedlings. Why? Because it's done in growing media, which will be free from pests and diseases. Also, you really have to up your water management. That is the management aspect. We can't really call it a disadvantage, but it's an extra effort that is needed from the farmer's side. Then also, you also need more of the seed when you do direct sowing. Like, as I mentioned, when you do transplanting into using the seedling trays, you can use 4 kgs, whereas when you do direct sowing, you can do 5 up to 8 kgs, depending on the precision of your machinery. Then the depth will be critical as well. When you do direct sowing, it can actually affect your germination as is compared to the precision sowing that is done to using the seedling tray system. So the next question, which will be my last question that I will answer, is is soil type of paramount importance when growing onions? I will say our onions, they do well on wide ranges of soils, but yes, the soils become important. Why? Because if it is too much of the sand, you really need to improve your soil. That's when you can come with your organic fertilizers or your organic manure. Then as well, you can also, when it is too heavy, that is the heavy clays, you can actually have challenges during the harvesting period. So with these two questions, let me thank you for the audience. I hand you over to Madam Beauty to just thank you as well.
Thank you, Dr. Lenmore. I think I've received another important question, which is saying, where can we buy the seed? You can find seed core vegetables throughout the country through our distributors such as Farm & City, Omnia, FarmBiz. Also supermarkets, your Pick n Pay, your OK, your Bon Marché, our gains, our profits. So any hardware which deals with seed, you will find seed core vegetables. We thank you, viewers, and we say as Seedco, this is the home of bumper harvest. Let's go there, let's go out there, plant our onions and harvest. Remember, your return for investment, for every $1 investment, you are getting $4. We thank you.